The aim of this video is to demonstrate an example setup for farming kill bonus with Land Decimator as part of item leveling. Now, if you don't want to worry about the details of how item leveling works and you just want to repeat one thing the entire time and until the item maxes out, this is something you can do. Now, for the Sage herself, I'm going to assume you have all her subclasses mastered because you are going to want the stats from having fully mastered subclasses. For the support units, I will try to cover where their abilities come from, which subclasses you need. I'm going to show that this will work on 20-star enemy strength. Also, the active curry has 100 thimbles in it for 100% critical rate, and it's got a sunshine rod as the main ingredient. I have an identical curry cooking right now. Sunshine rod as the main ingredient increases star resistance by 50%, and that can be potentially useful if you've got at least for elemental. If you've got elemental force and you want to attack with something like Terra Star or the Comet Disaster Overload. So the main thing is Land Decimator. This hits the entire map except the caster. This includes allies, so we'll have to do something about that. It's not very strong. Its power rating is G, and that's even at +9. Despite the fact that it still shows G at +0, +9 versus +0 is a massive difference. You really do want to max this out for this method. And because this is going to make it really expensive on your SP, you want to level it to 99 to reduce the cost on it. And for backup attacks, you want the Terra spells at +9 and level 99. And as a backup option for wiping the map, if she's ever in revenge mode and enemies are still alive, you can use Comet Disaster, which is a star elemental overload that damages the entire map. Comet Disaster is always int based, so we want to buff her int, and so we may as well make Land Decimator int based. Because, well, a lot of people don't seem to immediately realise this, Land Decimator doesn't always use int. If you're equipped with a staff, it uses int. But if you're equipped with any other weapon, it will use whatever stats that weapon normally uses. Int's convenient though, basically because it means it also works with spells, works with Comet Disaster, and we're going to want Christo adjacent to us, and that works with his Superlative Ally, which takes 20% of his int and lends it towards your attacking stats. Now, it doesn't have to be int that you're using, but if you're using int and Christo's using int, then you can use buff spells on both of you at once, rather than buffing one stat for the Sage and another stat for Christo. So, it's useful to have Christo at high stats as well, though it's not outright required. Now, because the other problem with Land Decimator, it has low accuracy, it caps at 50%. We want Christo for his Tactician because this will normally make things 100% accurate. In the case of Land Decimator, it just stops it going any lower than 50. And because that could happen. One thing we're going to have is another Sage cast Multi-Attacker on the main Sage. And what Multi-Attacker does is it gives an ally the ability to attack an extra time for 2 turns. And this is unique to Sages, so this unit has to be a Sage. Land Decimator is unique to Sages, so this unit has to be a Sage. These two unique to Christo, this has to be Christo. We're also going to have a Maid for afternoon tea. This is a unique skill of the Maid, so this unit has to be a Maid, and this essentially gives an extra turn to one of your units. So we can have the Sage attack multiple times with Land Decimator, afternoon tea her, and then she can attack multiple times with Land Decimator again. So hopefully, after all of those casts, the enemy will, all the enemies will be dead. If not, someone else may have to finish the job. And we're also going to have a buffing Professor, or you could use someone else. And the reason for Professor, their own unique ability, Medical Insertion, doubles the power of stat buffs, because at +9 a stat buff spell maxes out at 75%, but a +4 spell which weakens 50%, with Medical Insertion that doubles to 100%, which is the cap from a buff spell. So yeah, you want someone with Medical Insertion, though in this specific case this could be given to another unit, so it doesn't have to be a Professor in this case. We're going to be medicating Usalia as well, to borrow her Precious People unique ability. That's all we actually need on Usalia, so just Usalia being Usalia. So this is 20% attack adjustment for every adjacent ally. So attack adjustment, this isn't an actual attack buff, this is attack adjustment, which is an increase to attacking stats regardless of which stats you're using during damage calcs. The Sage is equipped with a staff. I've just got a weak staff here. So this is to make her attacks int-based, and also extra range on spells. The Professional is extra critical damage, and the Firefighter, Cryophile and Aeronaut increase her elemental resistances, which works well with Elemental Force if you're using it for making her spells deal more damage. We've got Pi for Ambusher. You don't need Pi. This comes from one of the mystery rooms in the item world, but Ambusher stops units countering you, and if you're attacking your own units and they're next to you, you don't want your own units countering you, so this can help. But you don't have to use this. Another option, and it's a fairly popular one, Megaphone for Hostage Negotiator. This increases the rate of enemies surrendering, and you're killing loads of enemies, so you'll probably get a lot of surrenders. Got movement gear and axle gear. You don't need this, but if you're going to move, axle gear's overclocker makes you teleport, so that's faster for moving, and it's got really high movement on it. This is obtained by defeating Normal Baal. Normal Baal can actually be defeated by a 10 million stat unit, or more easily a 20 million stat unit. You want your 20 million stats before you start trying to level these items, so as hard as it sounds, you actually can defeat Baal and farm these, because every time you defeat him you get them. You get one of these. So yeah, you can get multiple of these before you start leveling items. And ability wise, Mass Blaster is the unique ability of the Sage. Land Decimator is in fact the only map-wide attack, not counting squad attack, that actually benefits from Mass Blaster. So oddly enough, Comet Disaster doesn't work with Mass Blaster. Twin Heads. If you're attacking from wherever you started the turn, you attack an extra time. So usually this means from the base panel. And we want extra cast of Land Decimator. Bullying, more damage to low level enemy units, or also works if your level is tied. So at level 9,999 this works against everything. And Elemental Force is optional, but this means that when we're casting our Terra spells, we deal extra damage based, well, what that does is it adds attack adjustment equal to your resistance to that element. So when using the Terra spells, our elemental resistance will be added onto the power of those. Also, our resistance to Star will be added onto the power of Comet Disaster when we're using it, which is one of the reasons for having the Star Resistance curry. But you don't have to have this, and another option is something like... where is it? Final Blow. If an enemy is alive at low survives at low HP, you'll attack an extra time. So this can work as well. You want Purgatory for extra critical damage. Hasty Rush is from Girl Lahal, and this means you attack an extra time the first time you attack on the map. Critical point is extra critical damage if you're not adjacent to something. Well, it's against the things you're not adjacent to. You can be adjacent to something, it just won't work against the thing you are adjacent to. Anyway, you get this from Peda. Desperation, extra attack adjustment, but decreases defense. You're trying to win in one turn and not get attacked anyway, so that's fine. Mana Scarcity, increased attack adjustment, but you gain less mana. Well, the easiest way of getting this is as a one-time bonus from Inner Dark Demise Destroyer's Beacon. You can also obtain this, or you can turn it into a scroll on overall difficulty or above of Kara World. Unstable power, extra stats, but you lose stats after the first turn. For one slot, 50% stats for a turn is really good, and you're trying to win in one turn anyway. And this is from this is on, I think, Demon Lord difficulty or above. And then Gender Bender turns the Sage male, and the reason for this is that you can fill a squad with units with Bodyguards, one of the common abilities from Gal Lahal, which so this stacks with itself, and if you have a whole load of units in the squad with this, each of them gives 5% attack adjustment to male units in that squad, which is why we're turning the Sage male. Now, I should also point out, a lot of these support units have Charismatic Novice from Ameasal, and that's again a DLC unit, and this is 10% extra stats to units you're adjacent to. So, because we're getting stat boosts from the support units, it means that we don't need quite as many stats from our own abilities. We're also in the Foot Soldier squad, which is maxed out. So yeah, we're in 20 unit Foot Soldier squad. So yeah, the thing about that is that's 20% stats. Now, if you don't have DLC, so you don't have Bodyguards, so don't need Gender Bender, you don't have access to Critical Point, you don't have Hasty Rush, you don't have Charismatic Novice, you could go something like this, where we have Greedy Disposition for extra stats. This is 3% more stats for every digit of money you have. The maximum number of digits of money you can get is 13, so this could go as high as 39% stats. So between this and the same unstable power before and the 20% from Foot Soldier squad, you can get the cap of plus 100% stats. Got Twin Heads and Bullying as before, Purgatory, Mana Scarcity, Desperation again, Ambush, 20% extra attack adjustment the turn you send the unit out. This is again from Kara World, and this is on any difficulty. You can get Bounty Hunter from Kara World as well, which is extra damage against invaders. Also have Boar Charge here, which is 50% more attack adjustment but reduces your hit rate, but you stand next to Christo anyway, so he stops your accuracy dropping too low. I'm gonna use this setup just to show that it actually can be done with it, but ideally you do something like what I showed before. Optionally, instead of like Bounty Hunter, you could use... let's find it. You can use Eclipse Power if you want to farm Eclipse Power stats. This comes from Carnage Dark. So yeah, basically you permanently steal a very tiny percentage of the stats of item world bosses you defeat, invaders, mystery room enemies, and also overlords of netherworlds. Now, I've already farmed a load of... well, not... I wouldn't suggest intentionally farming Eclipse Power stats, but it's a thing you can just do anyway while leveling items. I already have a load of Eclipse Power stats on this Sage, so our stats are actually slightly higher than they would be if he was just a normal 40 million stat... well, 20 million doubled to 40 million stat unit. Christo. I've got Christo I've got Christo at high stats. Tactician makes sure that your accuracy doesn't... it's 100% accuracy for most things and stops Land Decimator dropping below 50. Superlative ally, the higher his int is, the stronger his adjacent allies are. Angel Song. This is the unique ability of Celestial Hosts. 25% extra attack adjustment to adjacent allies, so useful on support units. Evil Eye. Unique ability of Chimera. This reduces stats of enemies. Curse Dance. Unique ability of Sorceress. This is DLC. Enemies take 3% more damage. Oh, a use of Evil Eye, by the way. By lowering enemy stats, you could, instead of all this, you could replace, say, Boar or something similar with Kamikaze, which... So first of all, this comes from Zeroken, this is a common ability of Zeroken, so even if you don't have DLC, you have access to it, potentially. You just run Zeroken through Carol World. Despite what it says, it actually works the opposite way. Your speed has to be higher than the target, and has to be strictly higher. If you know your speed is going to be higher, then this is good because it's double critical damage. If you're at 99 million stats, it could be quite useful, which basically kind of guarantees it. It's useful to have Evil Eye on support units so that any 99 million stat enemies go below 99 million. But I'm not counting on being faster here, so I'm not going to use it for this demonstration. Now, Softening Aura. So here's the problem. Land Decimator hits your allies, you don't want to kill your allies, so you're Softening Aura on ally units. And this causes them to take 0 damage from other allies. Now, they still get damaged, it's just for 0. So if you move... So you can't move them again afterwards, because being damaged cancels your ability to move, like for the rest of the turn. So yeah, that's a thing to be wary of. And this is from Slumbercats, and I think it's two stars in Slumbercat. Relaxation halves the SP cost of adjacent allies. Land Decimator is very expensive, and now this stacks with itself, by the way. So for every unit with this adjacent to the Sage, it halves the cost of Land Decimator, which will help a lot. This is from Flora Beast, and I believe it's 4 stars in Flora Beast. Now, you need Softening Aura. I strongly suggest Relaxation. Explorer is good to have. This increases the chance of mystery rooms appearing, and this is a common ability from Pirates. And this, I believe, is 3 stars in Pirate. Unstable power, same as before. Because Christo makes people stronger the higher his int is, we want stat boost on him. So I've got that on him, and Violence. Violence is a common ability from Void. You don't have to have these, this just makes Christo stronger, and so his superlative allies better. And Charismatic Novice, mentioned before, from Ameasle. If you don't have DLC, we don't have Curse Dance, we don't have Charismatic Novice. All support units have similar things of Softening Aura, Relaxation, Explorer, Charismatic Novice, which I'm going to remove because I'll just show that this can work without DLC. I've also got Tension Booster. So if you use a support skill, you give 10% revenge gauge to whoever you use it on. And this is from the Professor, and it's 3 stars in Professor. And again with Charismatic Novice, with Bodyguards and Charismatic Novice. I've got Licensed Caregiver on the Maid, you don't need it for this, it's just... refer to my vid on farming extracts with Metalia for what Licensed Caregiver does, but basically a single target item becomes a 5 target item. It's not used for this, I just have it anyway. But yeah, the support units all have Softening Aura, Relaxation, Explorer, and Tension Booster, except Christo, who just has extra stats. You could, as a buffer, use someone like Mal though, because Medical Insertion is just a unique ability from a generic class. So instead of Angel, also remove Curse Dance. So yeah, if you've got Mal, you could have him with Angel Song, Medical Insertion, Evil Eye, and similar things to before. Reason for using Mal: allies within 3 spaces deal 20% more damage, enemies within 3 spaces take 20% more. They didn't write this ability they didn't do the description of the ability very well, but what else is new? I'm not going to use Mal for this, but he's an option. Yeah, all support units just have movement gear and axle gear so they can teleport. Also, staff for increased range on buffs. So I suppose I should show this in action. Actually, before I do that, I'll just quickly go over some advantages and disadvantages of this compared to anything else. So you only need 1 strong unit, which is the Sage, though it helps to have other units for killing bosses, and it helps to have Christo strong. Because the Sage is a generic unit, this makes it so easy to subclass, because you can just magic angel onto someone else. Now, unfortunately, it has to be a Sage. Land Decimator is completely locked to Sages. Land Decimator is curious in that, despite being a unique skill that scales based on the stats on the equipped weapon, it technically deals magic damage, which means it ignores weapon resistances, and you don't deal reduced damage to horsemen who have the unique ability Immortal Body that halves physical damage. Big downside to Land Decimator: you hit allies, so you have to do a whole load of things to make up for that. You're trying to get around the low accuracy, so it's even with all these costs, you could completely miss everything, miss something every time. So it's not reliable. You need all these support units. And we're using this as our attack, so if anything else needs cleaning up afterwards, someone else has got to do it. And as you're going to see, we have to do a lot of inputs, and even with animations off, just a simple, we're doing a buff, we're doing an attack, basic animations will add up quickly. So I'm going to just use this axle gear to demonstrate. It's already leveled, but because I'm using an already leveled item, the enemies in this will be as strong as they're ever going to get. So I'm just going to show that this still works. Now, unfortunately, we don't have space to put everyone. So Magic Change Usalia, Magic Change it over the sub-weapon slots so that we don't change the main weapon type. We need Christo adjacent. The second most important one is the second Sage adjacent. Christo still has to be adjacent for his unique abilities to work. We could buff from the base panel and then move away with this if we needed, but yeah, this is a multi-attacker, only goes 1 panel away, so you ideally want to be adjacent while you're doing it. Now, normally you would buff Christo and the Sage at the same time. Because my Sage already has a lot of Eclipse power stats, she should be normally at 40 million stats here. She's actually at 55 million. Now, if you just buff her, if she was at 40 million stats, an int buff would bring her to 60 million. So I'm going to only buff Christo here, but under normal circumstances, you would actually buff the Sage as well. So oh dear, we're on the no melee. Hang on. This method... Okay, I'm... I'm going to hope that that we... Oops. Okay, this falls just a disaster. Let's try this again. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes if everything's a complete disaster, if it's the first floor, just Gensy out. Just leave. If it's after that, you can Gensy out. Anyway, well, this is slightly better. So yeah, you can run into problems because if it was a different unit, you could just move far away. Like you could just move to a better spot and then surround them. But because we want to be on the base panel for twin heads to work, we're kind of locked into where we do this. So we might change Visalia. Use multi-attacker. Magic boost on Christo. Normally you'd magic boost the Sage as well, but because my Sage has a lot of Eclipse power stats, we're just pretending that she's at 60 million buffed rather than 55 million unbuffed. Use Land Decimator and Afternoon Tea in case Land Decimator misses something. Now it did. Well, okay, so this enemy is still alive. So we're gonna use Terra Wind to finish the job. Okay, so we have invaders. We don't have any geosymbol stuff to worry about. So Magic and Glysalia, out goes Christo, support save, Maid and buffing unit, multi-attacker, buff, Land Decimator, Afternoon Tea. Now if anything does live, we can use Comet Disaster. So yeah, that's why we have Comet Disaster as a backup option. Now we have to be a bit careful here. Mill is really strong. And Land Decimator will turn, because we're going to hit Mill, that will turn Mill against us. So we're going to actually have to kill Mill here if we attack. Which is a risk we're just... that's just what we're going to have to deal with, basically. Now, unfortunately, things did live. Land Decimator again, and that died. That's still alive. So I'm just going to move out of the way a second. Can't quite get that anywhere useful. So throw there. Unfortunately, can't do much there. So I'm going to have to get another unit to help finish the job here. Fine, I'm just going to use one of my Comet Disaster units. And that's actually not going to be enough. Yeah, so I'm just going to have to use someone else to help finish the job there. That's one of the problems you can run into. You can miss everything, like sometimes you can just fail to kill something, and then on top of that, mill is a pain.
行きます。一緒にお願いしますよ。さて、どうしましょうね。ダメなのね。はい、おとなしくして。行かないとダメなのね。
This time, everything died.
しょうがないにゃ
It seems to be quite common to only have like 3 spaces. Oops, I did that wrong. Again, a magic boost in Christo. Under normal circumstances, you'd magic boost the Sage as well. It's just my Sage already has really high stats because she's got Eclipse power stats. So I'm just showing that this would work without those extra Eclipse power stats because she's essentially got unbuffed. She has almost the stats she'd have with the buff. Now, how many things lived? Those lived. Is it just those 2? Okay. Oh no, there's that as well. Well, I can do that, which is a good start. Okay, so I'm going to do this mystery room. So, that pie I have equipped? Yeah, this is how you get it. Oops. Now in this case I actually can attack again because I didn't use all my attacks. Hang on, can Logan throw far enough? Not quite. Okay, so you can get around the weaknesses of Land Decimator. But yeah, you do have to deal with missing a lot. And what lived? Those, okay. Something survived all those. So I'm just gonna finish off with this floor.
何がお望みですか？行かないとダメなのね。実験の時間だ。行かないとダメなのね。
If I'm lucky, maybe the boss will get hit by all of them and die. The boss unfortunately survived. Oh, it's actually on a death blow. Okay. Oh yeah, but bosses are immune to death blow. Maybe in this case I can reach. So in that case it worked out because everything else died. But yeah, that's how you can use Land Decimator to kill enemies in the item world. Now, another ability, by the way, you could consider is you get rid of like one of the 1 slots and get Fighting Spirit, where it increases attack and defense adjustment by 5% when you attack or are attacked. For the when attacking bit, this works per target, even if you miss. So if you try to target 10 units, after that attack goes through, you gain 50% attack adjustment for the rest of that map. So when you're attacking multiple times with Land Decimator, the earlier hits can help power up the later ones. Major problem with this one is just it uses up 5 slots, which is a lot, and on top of that, it doesn't boost the initial hit. And all the time, you know, when you're missing a lot, you kind of want all the hits to potentially kill. But this is an option if you want the stronger hits to be, so the later hits to be stronger at the cost of the earlier ones not being as strong. And it can particularly help with, you know, after you've used afternoon tea, if you're doing another round of them. Yeah, you don't have to copy these setups exactly anyway, but this just gives you some idea of what you can do. And so, yeah, I hope this was useful to people, and thank you for watching.